Make sure that's going. All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first Friday entrepreneurship call with K-State Research and Extension. My name is Jan Steen. I work with K-State Research and Extension and the Kansas Pride program. And our mutual goal is to engage the knowledge, wisdom, and relationships of local communities with the research and experimentation of the university to create vital communities. The purpose of these calls is to increase the local community's knowledge about the experts, education, and economic resources available to help small businesses and entrepreneurs. This call is going to be recorded for future reference, or if you need to share this with anyone who wasn't able to attend, that will be on our K-State Research and Extension website under Community and then Business and Entrepreneurship. I have the link in the chat box. If you would like to click on that and listen to any of the previous recordings. Our speaker today is Andy Stanton, a remarkably rural project coordinator based in Hays, Kansas, and with Jen Russ Freelance out of Cortland, Kansas. And today's topic is effective use of social media for rural organizations. So go ahead and take it away, Andy.
Thanks, Jan. Good Friday morning, everybody. It's a gorgeous day in Hays. Not sure how it is across the state, but we had a very cold morning yesterday. Spent the morning at my son's track meet and thought I was going to freeze to death. So I was glad to see the sun this morning. I'm going to click over here and I'm going to share my presentation for you. Okay. So Jan, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Wanted to make sure we're all on the same page here. So as Jan said, my name's Andy Stanton. I work with Jenny Russell and Luke Mahan and Josie Hammer. They are all with Jen Russ Freelance. They are based in Cortland, Kansas, up in north central Kansas. Almost to the Nebraska border. I happen to live in Hays, and we have put together Remarkably Rural. Jen Russ Freelance has been in business for over 10 years. It's a freelance marketing organization. Both Jenny and Luke also are representatives for the for economic development. One of, let's see, Jenny does the economic development for Jewell County, and Luke does economic development for Republic County. My background is I have spent more than 25 years in the marketing, public relations, advertising, community development arena. I've worked in K-12 public relations, K-12 education public relations. Also was the tourism director in Dodge City for several years, and then also have taught at Fort Hays State University for several years, teaching advertising, public relations, and social media. So we got together and realized that, as the slide says here, rural America is a remarkable place, and it's time to tell the world. We are here to provide you with training and expertise and help in learning how to tell the world about what's so great in your community, whether it be for your private business, a local nonprofit, a community organization. We have workshops put together that we can help you create that story and tell everyone about it. The great thing about it is that we create a custom workshop experience for you, and we come to your community to deliver that and interact with you and your community, rather than you have to go to somewhere out of town for 3 or 4 days, even out of state for 3 or 4 days. We can do it for you right here in your community. So let's get started here talking about some social media marketing. I'll kind of go through what we're going to go through today is I want to take a look back. Whenever I'm with a group of mixed company that I don't know exactly who all is in the group, I want to get us kind of on the same level playing field and thinking about how the industry and how we communicate with various people used to be and how it is today. So we'll take a look back. We'll look at how we've changed. We'll see who is using what. One of the biggest questions we get is, you know, what social media should I be on? Well, it depends on who your audience is, and we'll be able to look at some relatively new research on exactly what generation is using what social media. And then I will give you lots of different examples of really how to connect with your audience utilizing social media. So let's go ahead and get started and take a quick look back at where we have been and how we have communicated in the past several years. So I've got the time machine here. We need to go back just a little bit. And as I was telling Jamie earlier, I am a child of the 80s. I will be 50 years old this year. And so the 70s and 80s were my developing years. And so when I think of a time machine, I definitely think of Back to the Future and jumping into that DeLorean back in 1985. Doesn't seem possible, in my mind at least, probably with everybody else, that Back to the Future in 1985 was 34 years ago. Now, probably in my mind, I think that, well, I haven't changed much. But if you look at a picture from me from 1985, I have changed quite a little bit. I don't know where all of that hair went to, but as you can see, it is definitely not there anymore. So it's always very good for us to think about how our business, our organization has changed for the past 10, 20, 34 years. And the way things we've always done might not be the same way that we want to be doing it now to reach the current audience. So in 1985, when we were looking at mass communication, we had, of course, television. Cable TV was really, it had come about in the late 70s, early 80s, so we had been used to broadcast TV advertising and marketing. Then we were able to narrow the focus a little bit with cable. Of course, we had radio. We had magazines, the newspaper, and good old direct mail. All of those are still good ways to market your business or organization, but things have changed quite a little bit since then. So let's look to see 2019, 34 years ago, as we said, is 1985. But think about where you were in 1985, and looking back 34 years from that was 1951. So I remember being a teenager, early adult in the 80s and 90s thinking, oh my gosh, the 50s were so old fashioned. I can't believe my parents, were teenagers and young adults in the 50s. Well, we have to think about that some of the things that we learned in the 80s, in the minds of our children and these younger generations, we are as old as some of those in the 50s. So just a few things to think about before we get started of how we can really get into the minds of various audiences. So 25 years ago was 1994. And we had the bloom of the internet. And probably, if you were on the line in 1994, you were utilizing a phone modem and maybe dialing into America Online, and you were surfing the web with Netscape on your desktop computer. And if there was a high resolution photo that was loaded on any of those pages, you sat there and waited and waited and waited as the picture slowly downloaded onto the page. Well, things have changed quite a little bit since then. And so let's look how a lot of that has changed. In 1996, we were all carrying around a Nokia phone like this. Our phones weren't allowing us to surf the web. We could answer calls, and if we were lucky, we could send a text, but texts were very expensive at the time. Move on to 2000, we were all worried about Y2K. Here's the sign from Protection, Kansas. Those of you who remember Y2K Protection was the America's first Y2K protected community from the folks at backup.com. So It seems like it's been a long time since Y2K. In 2003, we were getting online and doing this social thing with a thing called MySpace. Then in 2004 came Facebook. As I'm assuming most of you know, it was designed for college students to get to know one another. Originally was only for college students. Within a couple of years, it grew so different audiences could be partake in it. And as we know now, it is the granddaddy of what we call social media. 2006, we had Twitter. And it has changed how a lot of us communicate. No matter how you think about who's in the leadership in Washington, D.C., it's definitely changed to how our current president communicates with the general public. And in 2007, we got our first look at the BlackBerry Curve and the first iPhone. And those two inventions, those two products really changed the game of how we are utilizing tools and utilizing information to communicate. Then in 2009, if my slide wants to advance here, was 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, social media exploded. We went from just having a maybe Facebook and MySpace to all sorts of a wide variety of social media. A lot of people in the industry called it Web 2.0. Before 2008, 2009, most of the content on the internet was put there by established businesses or organizations. With the advent of social media and Web 2.0, it became more user-generated information that people were sharing things and communicating more effectively utilizing this. So now we're in 2019. This is kind of pretty much a common look wherever you're at. People are staring at their phones. I won't even talk about how this has changed interpersonal communication. That's a whole nother topic we could talk about. But in 2019, we now have a very fractured communication channels. So look back in the early 80s, you had TV, radio, newspaper, magazine, and direct mail. Now we have all sorts of different ways to be able to communicate with people. We have to be doing niche marketing. We have to be looking at what makes our business or our organization different, and then we need to show those differences to get people very interested in our businesses. Mobile is a must. As we look, some of the latest figures, especially for Facebook, is that 88% of Facebook users are accessing it on a mobile device, their phone or tablet. And so to have an online presence, we have to focus on brand building, customer service, and online shopping. If you don't have an online store for your products, you might want to consider it because more and more people are shopping online. There has to be a good balance, especially in small rural communities, of having online shopping, but also making a step above and providing wonderful customer service so you still have people in your local community utilizing your services. So we had to look back, how we've changed. Now let's get into who is using what. So choosing the right channel is so very important in getting your message out across to different audiences. So you really have to think about who is your audience and what do you want to do with social media and your audience. Are you wanting to grow that audience? Are you wanting to branch out into a new type of audience? Those are some things you really have to consider. So we look at the traditional 18 to 29-year-olds. Are your audience the 30 to 49s? Are they the 50 to 64, or are they the 65 plus? I'm guessing for a lot of people, it's a mixture of all of these. And so let's now look at who is the monthly active users on various types of social media. Facebook currently has 2.23 billion monthly active users. That means that 2.23 billion people are getting on Facebook each month. YouTube is at 1.9 billion. WhatsApp, which is an instant messaging app, it's owned by Facebook, but it's not a lot of people know about it in the United States, especially in our area. It's very popular in other international countries, especially in Latin America. There was the shooting the mass shooting in New Zealand a few weeks ago. Some of the first reports of people in other areas of the world heard about that via WhatsApp. So that's kind of one to be thinking about. Facebook Messenger that currently has 1.3 billion users. Facebook Messenger is more people are communicating with businesses and organizations through their Facebook page and then doing private conversations with an organization through Messenger. Instagram is at 1 billion monthly active users. It continues to grow. Once again, now it is owned by Facebook too. So you can do a lot of different things, integrating an Instagram posts and Instagram paid campaigns into your Facebook, and Facebook and Instagram can go vice versa. Twitter has 3.35 million users. LinkedIn, 294 million. If you're doing business to business, or what we call B2B marketing, LinkedIn can be a very good resource for you. Snapchat, if you're looking at those teenagers or early 20-year-olds, Snapchat is the place to be at 255 million. And Pinterest is still in there at 250 million. I use Pinterest as my online cookbook. I will find things, recipes that I like, and I will save them to my Pinterest account, and that way I can go back and find them later on. So let's look at the different demographics that we pointed out, and this is some information from the Pew Research Center, great resource for current topics. 18 to 29, 88% of 18 to 29-year-olds are on social media. And something that when we think about are the different types of people, the different age groups, something that you might want to think about going back to my 1985 reference, over 50% of the world population is now under 30 years old. So that's something to think about, really looking at these 18 to 29-year-olds. Today's college students have never licked a postage stamp. 2 in 3 people get their news from social media. 93% of buying decisions are influenced by social media. And more people own a mobile device than a toothbrush. So think about that. More people own a mobile device than they own a toothbrush. Kind of scary. So let me get back into here. 78% of 30 to 49-year-olds are utilizing social media. 64% of the 50 to 64-year-olds are utilizing social media. And of those 65 plus, 37% are utilizing social media. My dad is 81 and is on Facebook several times a day. That's how he gets knowing of what's going on with all of his kids and grandkids and lives, and his friends from even back in high school. He's been out of high school for more than 60 years, and several of them are very active on social media. So thinking about that a good percentage of whatever age group you're going after, they're doing social media. So let's look to see what they're utilizing. Of the 18 to 29-year-olds, 91% use YouTube. That's the biggest chunk of that. 81% are active on Facebook, and then you can see as it goes down, Snapchat, Instagram, then we dip down to Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and then WhatsApp down there at 27%, still utilizing WhatsApp, a pretty good chunk. From the 30 to 49-year-olds, 85% of them are utilizing YouTube, and then 78% Facebook. Instagram pops up in the 30 to 49-year-olds, excuse me, and then Pinterest, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Twitter, and Snapchat. Of the 50 to 64-year-olds, 68% of them are utilizing YouTube, 65 Facebook, you can see there then. And then the 65 plus, they are pretty much an even mash up with both Facebook and YouTube. And then it goes down to very small percentages for other types of social media. So it really is very important that when you are thinking about who your audience is and where you want to grow your audience, to think about who is using what and where you can go into a wide variety of these. So let's move on and really get into the meat of today's webinar is connecting with your audience. Remember social, there's thinking about the name, social media. It's for you to socialize with them, thinking about if you're at a cocktail party and you want to go, or you're at a community event and you're wanting to network and meet as many people as you can. You go from little corner to corner in the room and visit with different people and learn different things and meet new people. Social media is just like that also. You can tell things about you, your business, your organization, and then be able to interact with other people. You can also then interact with other people from what they have been saying on their social media. So just thinking about all of this, it's all about getting to know people and getting to know different organizations, and then thinking about those first dates that we had is what all do you tell about yourself? So here's some tips and tricks about connecting with your audience. A lot of people they know that they need to be on social media, but you're just not really sure as what to say. So here are some ideas, and then we'll go into some other specific ideas of what you can say. Give tips and tricks about the products that you provide, the services you provide, things that are in your community. Give the little insider. People are always wanting to know different things about tips and tricks. Provide in-depth guides about something. If you have a trail that's coming through your community that's being developed, go out there and video being out on the trail and tell people exactly what it's all about. Social media, you don't have any space limitations versus if you were going to do a brochure. Do how-tos, whether you offer plumbing supplies or if you offer baking supplies, or how to if let's say you're the local police department, how to successfully click your seatbelt to remind people that we need to be wearing seatbelts, or installing car seats. Utilize social media to share that message. Company insights and organization insights. Tell us some of the back stories about how your company came to be and what you do in the community. And then ask questions. They don't have to be relevant to your business. We'll talk about that in depth here in just a little bit. This is something that the Kansas Highway Patrol did. This was in January when we had those horrible cold snaps. It says the Kansas Highway Patrol will not, or it's a no closing alert. The Kansas Highway Patrol will not be closing due to extreme temperatures. Troopers across Kansas will be diligently checking for stranded motorists as temperatures could reach record lows and make traveling extremely dangerous. So what they are doing, yes, they are reminding people that it is dangerously cold to be outside. Stay inside, but looking at it from a kind of a humorous way of, yeah, we're still open, we're out there, we're protecting you, we're serving you, but you don't need to be out into it. And then just this morning, I was looking on Facebook, and Hudson Cream Flour, home of, the Stafford County Milling Company, home of Hudson Cream Flour down by St. John. If you've never baked with Hudson Cream Flour, you need to go get some. That is not a paid testimonial. This morning they posted, Sunday is a National Coffee Cake Day, and no, we didn't make that up. You don't have to twist our arm very far to celebrate coffee cake, though. So here's a fun recipe to try this weekend in honor of the holiday. And it's a recipe for peaches and cream coffee cake. If you click on the See More, it gives you the entire recipe. And so if you're wanting to make coffee cake, go to the Hudson Cream Flour Facebook page, like them, and you can get all of their stuff. But they're providing additional fun information of things that you can do to use their products. Here's a good one from the Canopolis Drive-In. This was just on this morning too. The drive-in is open for the season again, and so they're wishing everybody to come back to the season. But they've got some kind of interesting things here to say. It says, click here and read this. Gates open at 7, not 8 like before. The sun sets sooner now, so we start sooner than in the middle of the summer. The movie soundtrack's on 101 FM. You can get your radios at the concession stand or your boombox from 1985. This is my favorite one. No checks. Now, checks are fine. We're Czech, meaning being from Czechoslovakia. The Canopolis Drive-In is in central Kansas. Cash or card only, and no checks from Czechs. We don't care how closely related you are to us. So they're installing some humor into their post. And they also had, with the original post, let me find it here, was a long, great post with all sorts of fun information about crazy questions they get asked. So go to the Canopolis Drive-In page and see kind of how they're utilizing some humor to keep people entertained and informed about what's going on with their business. Okay, what to post. You always want to make sure whatever you're posting, have a photo with it, just like Canopolis did over here. They had a text post, but then had a photo or a graphic to go along with it. According to Facebook statistics, if you have a photo with your post, you will get 100% more engagement than if you just had a text-only post. Because think about 88% of people who are utilizing social media are utilizing it on their mobile device. Think about how you utilize social media. You're on your phone, you're flipping through, your eye gets more attention if you have a picture or a video to go along with that. We'll talk about videos here in just a couple minutes. Let's go to the next point here, if it'll follow with me. Excuse me. A photo post on Twitter has 35% more engagement than text only. But Twitter is more of a text format, but yet still you're going to get more engagement with a photo. And then Instagram, which this makes sense, 100 million photos of video are uploaded daily to Instagram. Instagram was based, it's a social media based upon photos. And now you can do video, you can do live video with Instagram. But we as a nation now, they say that a goldfish has a longer attention span than we do. I am part of the MTV generation of, music videos where you want to be visually entertained. Thinking about maybe when you went to college or your kids are in school and in college, the whole teaching aspect of you have to have a PowerPoint. We have a PowerPoint right here with this presentation. It's more visually compelling for you to look at this rather than to just sit here and listen to me. Think visually. Here are some samples. This is from Karg Art Glass, which is in Keachai. They were promoting, this was early February, for Valentine's Day. Heart paperweights were on sale for $30. It's a great picture. Lots of colors, lots of cool heart shapes. It grabs your attention. If you haven't been to Brandt's Meat Market in Lucas, you need to plan to go. The Brandt's Meat Market has been in business for, I don't even remember now, 80, 90 years, maybe even more than that. But it has awesome meat, but one of the best things that they have is this homemade, it's called bologna. It's homemade bologna. It's more like a summer sausage, but they had a picture here about, this was the week before the Super Bowl. So they were doing a timely post thinking about people getting ready for their Super Bowl parties. So they showed pictures of their homemade ring bologna and some cheese curds. Here's another one from Brandt's, some fresh cut steaks. That was just right before Christmas on December 22nd. It says on the 12th day of Christmas, all fresh cut steaks and pork chops are 10% off. So first come, first serve in the store. We have T-bones, ribeyes, strips, bone-in pork chops. Any of these would make a delicious Christmas dinner. Great pictures. They're taken right there at the market. We all have phones here that can take pictures, utilize some of these things. If you're a Royals fan, you know, we don't have a lot of Royals baseball in the winter time, but you could get Slugger to do a personalized Valentine for you. And who doesn't like cheesecake? This is a great picture of going to 12tomatoes.com, which is a cooking blog, to see how to do their cheesecake recipe. Utilize photos. Now, let's get into video here real quick. Video is taking social media by storm. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, only behind Google. YouTube is owned by Google. So thinking about if you are needing to, you know, figure out how to fix something in your house, whether it be with your car or something like that, or want to know a little bit more about something, a lot of people are going to YouTube to find that out. You can typically find a video just about anything. Well, you have expertise, your businesses, your organizations have expertise. Create some videos. They don't have to be professionally produced, but it just should be you showcasing how to utilize a product or a service. On Facebook, live video is viewed 3 times longer than recorded video. If you've never done a live video on Facebook, on your Facebook page, it's so easy. You go to create a post, you click on the little bar, and it says, if you're wanting to put text or whatever, and it says go live. You click on that, it brings up the camera in your phone or your laptop, and you can go live. People are interacting with live video more than even if you had a pre-recorded video that you upload to Facebook. So because they can interact with you, and they watch it longer than they would a pre-recorded video. Even in the Facebook algorithm, the live videos get more coverage. 82% of social media users prefer live video to a regular post because they can interact, they can ask questions, and if you have somebody there that can help you moderate all of that, you can answer the questions too. 80% prefer live video to reading a blog. You know, a lot of people are scared of a website or a blog because they think, well, I don't know what to write. I'm not a good writer. But if you're passionate about your topic, you can talk about it pretty easily. Get in front of a video and do it. Don't be scared of the camera. Just get up there and be yourself, because more people are going to want to watch your video than read about it. And then 87% of social media users want behind the scenes videos. We'll talk about this in just a little bit more, but be thinking about what about your business, your community, your organization that goes on that we probably think is just kind of mundane and run-of-the-mill stuff that people might think of what it would be like. We'll talk about it in just a second here. This is an example of the Wool Market and DIY School in downtown Hutchinson. And Jan, you are close to Hutchinson. You need to go downtown and see the Snooks there at the Wool Market. They have a great store, but one thing that they do about weekly is a video like this. And they're showcasing whether it be a product. They do a lot of classes in their store. They can showcase those, but it's just getting up and they talk about it. It's another edition of things you didn't know you needed. It's another great way of connecting with your audience. Another way to engage your audience on social media is to ask questions. This here is a copy of the book of questions. It's a great conversation starter. You can get it dirt cheap at your local bookseller, which those are very hard to find anymore. But online, you can also order it relatively inexpensively. It's a little paperback book, but it's got all sorts of really kind of cool questions. But the questions that you ask your audience don't have to be complicated. They can be related to your business or organization, but they don't have to either. It's a way to get a conversation started. Once again, think about that first date when you were on as a teenager or a younger adult. It's best, people want to be asked questions. Don't ask a closed-ended question, a yes or a no. Ask an open-ended question. They have to be able to answer it with something they have to think about just a little bit. Do current events, but I wouldn't ask anything real confrontational unless you're wanting to get a fight going on your social media. But ask things about how the weather is in their area, or graduations are coming up. Some things such as that. People want to share. And then you can do some completely out of the blue topics. So I said earlier, I used to teach at Fort Hays State University, excuse me. And one of the things that I did in my classes every day when I took roll is I had a question of the day, and it was something completely off topic of the class. It was just a way for people to open up a little bit, for me to get to know them, for their classmates to get to know each other. One of them would be, one of my favorite ones was, what's your favorite popsicle? We all enjoy popsicles, or at least probably all of us did when we were kids. I still enjoy popsicles, and most people have a favorite flavor. It's just something, it's non-threatening, and it's able to let people open up and interact. So here's an example. We did this on our Remarkably Rural page just a couple days ago. It says, my favorite kind of pie is, and then fill in the blank. I said, what's your favorite kind of pie? And then what I had done is we posted this originally on our Instagram account, and then we're able to share it to Facebook automatically. So we used some hashtags there of pie, yummy, fruit versus cream, everyone likes pie, small town, and remarkably rural. Hashtags can be very important depending on what social media you're using, especially on Instagram. So we posted that, and we got great response back from it. We ended up with 13 comments, one share. People are apple, lemon, strawberry rhubarb, all pie except coconut cream, all pies, pumpkin with whipped cream, peanut butter, chocolate meringue, Snickers, peanut butter, coconut, anything cream. That's just a few of the responses we had. But the more you can get people to interact with your posts, the more that goes sharing to other people's pages, because it's, if it says Tim Bradford was the first one there who answered Apple, well, then a lot of people will see that Tim Bradford replied to Remarkably Rural's post. Things like that help it go viral. This didn't go particularly viral, but it got more exposure. And now Facebook is wanting me to promote it. It says this post is getting great more interaction, get even more by putting a few dollars into boosting that post, which you can do, but there's a lot of great things of doing things organically on social media. Create events. We had a webinar earlier this week on a similar topic that we're doing today. And so we created an event that people could, it helps just spread the news and get publicity out about it. It will increase your ticket sales and registrations. Facebook says that it does have a marked increase with all their statistics. And one of the great things about events is if you've ever clicked on an event that you are interested in and you haven't RSVP'd to, or you're going to it, you will get constant reminders as the days come up to the event. So, and you don't have to pay for any of that. Facebook is doing that marketing for you. You can see friends who are interested in various events. And then again, that's another way of promoting it. Facebook will then show you some suggested events, whether they be a particular topic that you have shown interest in, or it might be in your area. This is a great way for let Facebook do the marketing for you without having to pay anything for it. Go behind the scenes. Remember that earlier statistic about 87% want behind the scenes videos. You know, create a video or a post with something behind the scenes, like here in The Wizard of Oz. Remember, don't pay attention to that man behind the curtain. Let people know. They want to know some of the different ins and outs of what goes on in your business or organization, or even in your community. This is a great way to do a shout out to whether it be community volunteers who are getting ready for a big event, or people who do a great hard work behind the scenes. It's a great way of showing your organization. Behind the scenes, team building content shows that your team works well together, and people like to do business with an organization that will have things working well together. Funny content creates an emotional connection with your audience. How many have sat and watched a funny cat video or a puppy video on Facebook? You know, we like to have humor. And personal content shows that you're relatable. You know, so showing some different things about you, your team, your organization is a great way of doing it. This is a picture of somebody making a bed. We've all made beds before. I was visiting with the Kansas owners at the Kansas Bed and Breakfast Association a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about different types of behind the scenes posts that they could be doing. And I asked them, I said, how many loads of laundry do you do a day? And they all just kind of laughed and chuckled, and some of them even groaned. And I said, you know, share that with people. Or, you know, thinking about the bed. When you go to a hotel or a bed and breakfast, you're hoping that you're going to have a nice bed, because especially at a B&B, that's part of the experience. And so you want to have a nice bed with nice luxurious sheets, everything such as that, to be pampered. Show people some of the things, the perks about your business or organization. Share testimonials. You know, if you've got people who are saying great things about your organization, your business, let people know about it. So share them on your social media. You know, and even with Facebook, people can do recommendations to your business. They can rate you. Other types of social media, you can provide ratings, all of that. So, you know, make sure that when you get a good testimonial, share it. And if somebody comes into your store or office or in your community and they provide you a great testimonial, be prepared. Ask them, of course, thank them for the compliment, but ask them, hey, do you mind? Can we utilize this? If you're at your store, have a piece of paper right there with a form filled out that you can say, hey, we love your store. This is our comment. This is our name. And yes, you're free to use our name and image to help promote it, because it really does help. Testimonials will establish your credibility as a business or an organization. It builds relationships. Remember, this whole social media thing is all about relationships. And then it also, hit the wrong button here. Stories, which pretty much what a testimonial is, stories capture attention. As human beings, we want to hear other people's stories. And as businesses and organizations who are wanting to promote ourselves, we have to figure out what our story is and to be able to tell it. So those testimonials will help you build your story and build all that credibility. Become an expert. You are doing what you're doing for a particular reason. Hopefully you're passionate about whatever it is that you're doing, and you know quite a little bit about it. Let people know that you are an expert about this. It establishes credibility, just like those testimonials do. It allows you to show off your skills, whether it be in a video post, a photo post, whatever. Show off some of your skills. It allows you to show off your products. Thinking about the wool market in Hutchinson, they show off their products, they show off the things that you can learn by coming into their store. Show off your knowledge. If you are, let's say that you're the local attorney in town, and have a frequently asked question and answer of the week of what people are wanting to know about. Thinking about the Canopolis Drive-In, they had a funny post about some of their frequently asked questions. Show off the knowledge, because and then also show people how to do things. Just like with the YouTube videos, show people how to do something, how to utilize a product that you sell or the neighbor sells, or something like that, that people, you can see that they can benefit from this. Because when people have questions, they want to find out experts. Thinking about in our own lives, if we have a question, we'll go ask a friend, hey, do you know how to change this part on my barbecue grill? You might go ask your neighbor or your friend who grills a little bit. But when they have questions, they'll come to you because you have established yourself as an expert in your community, in your field, to be able to be considered a reliable source. Excuse me. Another thing, share community events. This is a community event. It's coming up this weekend. It's a collectible auction at the Auction City Limits in Plainville. I love auctions. And one of the things that they do with their events, they do a monthly consignment auction, and they will always have they will always have an event for the auction where they list all the items on the sale bill. It's much cheaper than mailing out sale bills, but they still mail out sale bills too. I get one every month. But it allows you to, people can share this event, that, hey, this is going on in our community. And if you look over here on the right-hand side of the slide, it says related events. So there's a Memorial Day celebration in Moreland, because that's geographically close. There's yoga. There's a come and go Good Friday service, the Spring Poppy Patch Craft Show in Hayes, the Plainville Car Show. It's showing related events and geographic events. Facebook is doing this for you for free. So create events, whether they be in your business, your organization, because people are going to utilize them, and then encourage people to share those events. So one of the biggest questions that we get is, well, here's all, you showed me all of these great things, great ideas about what we can do to get more engagement. But the magic question is, When do we post them? Well, there's a lot of different thoughts about that. But one of the first things you need to remember, once again, is who is your audience? Are they active on social media in the daytime, in the evenings? Are weekdays better than weekends for them? It's going to depend on your audience. Think about if you're a retail business, think about the shopping patterns. What days are you busiest most? It's the same way with social media. Each one of those is going to be different, and each different type of business or organization is going to have something different. So I do not own a magic wand that's going to tell you exactly what. But when you look at the research, most of the research shows, and this is across wide varieties of social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, typically middle of the day and middle of the week seems to get the most responses. It's one of those things that if you're looking for an instant response, you might get some right then and there. If you're looking for people seeing things later on and resharing, doing all that, I know a lot of people who spend a lot of leisure time, whether they be setting at home or setting at a ball game or wherever it is, they're looking at social media. So a lot of that happens in the evenings. So you just really kind of have to figure out and do some testing to see what works best with your audience. You want to make sure that you are posting when you are able to interact with your customers, because if they are replying to your posts, you want to be able to answer them. And you want to make sure that you're doing timely posts. Thinking about the post I showed you earlier about carved art glass with the heart-shaped paperweights. That was right before Valentine's Day. Brandt's Meat Market was showing their homemade ring bologna right before the Super Bowl, their steaks right before Christmas. Thinking about something that's coming up. Easter is coming up. If you're providing a service or products that are around Easter, post them now as you're building up towards that. Thinking about what is fueling and going on in the world. So, yeah, here's an example from Augustine's Bakery. It's a small bakery here in downtown Hayes. In fact, I was there this morning. Once a week, they have Bierox. I think it's on Wednesdays. And they typically will post when the Bierox come out of the oven. And this is typically around 11 o'clock in the morning. So people are starting to get hungry. And here's another one. I follow Katz Delicatessen. They're in New York City. They're a world famous deli, and they post awesome food pictures. I'm a foodie, and they posted this. The time on there is 11:01 a.m. So it says, look at this amazing pastrami Reuben made especially at a Taste of Katz in Brooklyn. So looks pretty good to me, but that's timely. People are thinking about lunch. People are hungry. So what's next? Thinking about your social media. I'm going to wrap up here so we can take some questions, but you have to think about, with any type of marketing that you're wanting to do, you want to think about who is your customer and what do you want to achieve with this type of marketing. Are you wanting the phone to ring more? Are you wanting more people to come into your business or organization office? Are you wanting more clicks on your website? Are you wanting people to buy things on your online store? You want to think about that and kind of reverse engineer of what we can do with social media. Then you need to choose that social media platform and create a strategy. People think, oh, well, we don't need to have some marketing expert help us. We can do social media. That's great, but do it strategically, just like you do other parts of your business or organization. And the last part about this with what's next is you want to have fun and build relationships, because that's what social media is all about. So to kind of wrap things up here, we have taken a look back with our DeLorean, We looked at how we changed with from our BlackBerry curves to what we're utilizing now, to who's using what. And then hopefully I've given you quite a few tips and tricks to connect with your audience. This is my contact information, my telephone number there, my email, remarkablyrural@genrusfreelance.com. Our contact information is on the bottom of the screen also. Feel free to give me a call if you have a question about different types of social media. Find me on Facebook. I'm pretty easy to find. Just type in Andy Stanton. Don't confuse me. There is a British children's book author by the name of Andy Stanton also, but we get a little confused every once in a while, but not too much. Find me. I'll be glad to answer questions. And also, if you are interested in getting a group of people together in your community that you want to bring in Remarkably Rural, we can do customized workshops and work with you on various projects to get people looking at all sorts of different things differently. So let's open it. I will turn it back to you, Jan, and we can answer any questions. I will stop there.
That's a lot of great information. I feel a little older now. Listening to that, I remember in 1994, I had an internet white pages that had all of the email addresses that existed at that time.
Exactly, yes.
That you couldn't do that anymore, probably. So if anybody wants to type a question in to the chat box, we can go ahead and read those. Or if you want to unmute yourself and just ask it live, that's fine as well. We did have one question. Ron Wilson mentioned that he's been told the best way to communicate with your state legislators now is via Twitter. Is that accurate? Do you have any comments on that?
Well, once again, I think it's going to, I know a lot of them are active on Twitter. It's going to depend about your very own state legislator. The best way to do that is to contact them. Call up their office and ask their administrative assistant, how do they prefer to be contacted? I realize a lot of them, the way they prefer might not be the way they actually answer. But Ron, I would, try many different ways. I would have to admit, I emailed my legislator just yesterday afternoon and got a response back within about 20 minutes. I was very surprised. So I think it's going to really depend on who the legislator is and how up to snuff they are on utilizing technology.
All right, and then we had a question about just pros and cons of scheduled posts. What do you say about those?
Pros and cons of scheduled posts. Scheduled posts are great because you can, as it says, you can schedule when you want your post to go out. You can do those organically through Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, or you can utilize a third-party software. It's just a web software that you can utilize. Hootsuite is one of them, Hootsuite, Hoot like an owl, that you can have several different accounts, social media accounts, and you can manage those accounts right there, and then you can schedule posts going there. It's great if you, especially if you have an audience that is active at a time when you're not so active, whether it might be during your busy periods in the office or the store, or if they're busy going on at a different time. So yeah, scheduled posts especially helps out when you're planning different things. If you want to say, we've got these planned, let's get these done, and that way I can move on to something else.
Okay, great. Any more questions? Does anybody want to unmute themselves and ask?
I have a quick question. I hear this sometimes, and I guess it's something that people struggle with. Say that they do want to start a Facebook page, and but they do see that other Facebook pages sometimes have comments, like say negative comments. People will just put things out there. How would you advise them to move forward if they put something out and then they start getting negative comments?
Well, people are going to say negative things about you on social media, whether you were on social media or not. So from a public relations standpoint and customer service standpoint, this allows you to address the issue. Most people who complain about whether it be a service issue or a product or whatever, they mainly just want to be heard. Well, if you can address the issue, thank them for sharing their concerns and give a little bit of your side of what could be done and to be able to resolve the issue, I think that is a great way of handling that. If this is somebody who is constantly what we call trolling your business or organization online, you can block them from commenting on your page if you need to do that. But I am a true believer of good, effective public relations and customer service involves good two-way communication. And it allows people to be heard, but it also allows you to help solve the situation that they are having.
Thank you.
All right, we'll do one last call for questions. Anyone else?
Jan?
Yeah, go ahead, Stu.
Yeah, in addressing that last one, I know my wife's dental office had an issue with one of their employees had gone to a restaurant and got horrid service, and they complained on Facebook. They started getting, those guys tracked her down where she worked and were just bombing their office. So yes, you're right. You got to block them. That there was no talking that one through. So.
Yeah, and something to consider with that also is a lot of businesses nowadays will have a social media policy in their human resource handbook of, a lot of businesses will say, as an employee, you are a representative of our organization. We don't want you bad-mouthing any of our clients or anything such as that. That's something that you have to consider. You want to talk with a human resource professional about what you should do. You want to encourage people to not be bad-mouthing things online. One thing about social media is it allows us to kind of hide behind the computer, and we might say things that we probably wouldn't say in person with somebody. We always encourage people to be considerate, even especially on social media. But yes, if there is a legitimate problem, it needs to be addressed. But if it continues, people are trolling you, you can always block them from posting.
All right. Well, thanks again, Andy. That was a great presentation, lots of good information. If you think of anything that you'd like to talk to Andy about after this, he had his contact information up there, so feel free to reach out. And let's see here. This is the point where we ask if any of the partners online right now have anything that they would like to share. What's happening out in your world? Anybody have anything they'd like to talk about? Okay, I'm not seeing any microphones come up live here. We'll give it just another second. We'll take this time to mention that our next speaker for the next First Friday eCall will be Trish Brasted from Wichita Technology Corporation. And Trish will be talking about Angel Investing 101. So not seeing any additional comments or questions. Thank you all for coming today. And the thought for the day is you are capable of more than you know. And that is from Glinda the Good Witch. Thanks everyone, and have a great weekend.